Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, Bob Myers, the name we've hesitantly, hypothetically thrown out for weeks already as potential next lead decision maker of your Phoenix Suns. Well, that just got a lot more real. Our reaction next. Let's go.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Thursday. Don't forget Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me with a lot to talk about, all things Bob Myers to Phoenix from the wonderful West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling on this Wednesday evening into Thursday, Ben Garcia?
I'm so good. It's so funny that you said this busy Thursday, Wednesday afternoon, whatever. It's funny that you say that because you were texting me, you're like, hey, what do you feel about like just taking like an R&R rest and relaxation either today or tomorrow? NFL drafts coming up. Don't want to get overshadowed. I'm like, yeah, let's take today off. Let's do it tomorrow. We'll figure it out. We'll come out Friday. And lo and behold, no rest for us, man. This is perfect timing. Something that I did not think had a big chance of happening. Holy cow. This feels like Jimmy Butler to the Suns, potentially, all the way back in October or whatever. So I'm excited, man.
So it was Mark Stein via his Steinline newsletter, who has been on top of a lot of the Suns news we've been talking about lately. He reported, and I'll just read it basically from top to bottom. We'll talk through what Myers is as a GM, whether he wants this job, and then whether he should be the Suns' top guy here. But Mark Stein reported that the sort of executive hire that Ishbia is looking to make, whether that's somebody to work alongside James Jones or outright replace him and take over all of basketball operations, is not entirely clear. It would be super clear, though, if the Suns could successfully lure Bob Myers back to the front office world. Let me just actually stop right there, and let's just talk about Myers. So, right, obviously, Ben, we all know, former agent, and then about 10 years ago or so, jumped to the Warriors front office, helped build the dynasty there, and then left a couple years back, and he's joked that he basically wanted to get out in front of having to tear down the dynasty or reset the dynasty because Clay walked and everything else. And since then, he's been in an advisory role with the Washington Commanders, helped them do their coach and GM searches, and of course, was calling the game on ESPN this past weekend, does their studio coverage and everything else. That is about as good of a resume as you could find from somebody, and I expect him to kind of be at the top of the class. Now that it's real, what are your thoughts on Myers as the guy to come in and take over, save this franchise's next steps from Matt Ishbia having to be the guy to do it?
Well, instant reaction was like, oh my God, Matt Ishbia is a madman, because this is going to cost he is going, if he becomes the Suns president of basketball operations, general manager, whatever, he will be the highest paid executive in the NBA. And I'm not sure how close it's going to be. And it just goes back to Ishbia paid James Jones. He's paid the three coaches, and he's like, whatever. Money is just money to me. I'll throw it around and get the right guys to fix this thing. It also tells me the Suns got their first clue of, oh, we don't know what we're doing. Let's get someone in here that can potentially do it. The only thing that scares me about this is if they don't get Bob Myers, whoever they get now is going to be seen as a disappointment because you threw out the name Bob Myers. So that was my instant reaction.
Well, they didn't throw it out, but it leaked somehow.
It leaked, but things, I think you and I are both in the space where we can both say things get out if people want it out. I don't think there's a lot of things that just methodically leak out there.
Yeah,
On
I
accident.
agree, but
There's
I would say
but
this
not
one,
much.
like you just laid out, would make no sense for the Suns to put it out there. So I would imagine this came from other teams that have heard, maybe Myers' camp, something like that. So whatever. But I think here's a few things that I was curious about. Sorry, my dog's making a noise. When I first saw this news. One thing that Bob Myers and Matt Ishbia have that is very much in common is they both were relatively lower level, although I think that Myers actually played. But no, actually not. He was a 4-year practice player for the UCLA championship team in 1995. Who does that sound like? Matt Ishbia with Michigan State, right? And if you go back to his agent days, because we know all the Warriors stuff, like once this gets further down, we can talk about he missed on Wiseman or whatever, like the nitty gritty of what it would actually look like here. But the other thing, if you go back to his agent days, is that he worked for Wasserman. He got his start as the kind of mentee of Arn Tellem. People probably know that name, but maybe don't quite know where I'm going. The Suns have one of Arn Tellem's sons on their staff in the front office already. Matt Tellem. Remember everybody heard about him last year because he's the cap whiz that they stole from Brooklyn. I'm not really sure what kind of cap anything he really did because there wasn't really an opportunity, although if the Butler trade happened, we probably would have attributed it to him. And Arn Tellem, the dad, back to the original agent that Bob Myers worked for, he now runs the Pistons, which means that he employed none other than Josh Bartelstein up until 2 years ago. So that is a lot of things that you could imagine if Matt Ishbia, Josh Bartelstein, even James Jones sat down in a room with Bob Myers with a nice glass of whiskey or over a nice steak, they'd probably have quite a bit to talk about. And that is just the kind of thing that at least allows you to imagine this being real and not just a rumor that'll, wisp away in 2 days.
Well, then let's nip that right in the bud automatically. How real do you think this is? Like, how much of it do you think it's just Bob Myers' camp stirring up interest? Because we both agree it probably didn't come from the Suns camp. There would be not a ton of positives for it to be leaked from the Suns camp because if they don't get him, it's a major disappointment. Bob Myers is a big name, whatever. It probably came from his camp.
I think if Mark Stein is reporting it, it's there's legs to it. I don't really need that much. And I just explained all these connections. So I think I gave my answer to how real it is. I think it's very real. I would, as far as like what he's good and bad at, or like just sort of, does he match with the we need a vision kind of thing? Warriors people could tell you much better than me. I'm not pretending like I was charting out his every move and reading all the news around it for the past decade plus out of Northern California. But I think he is an amazing people person. If you watch him on TV, if you remember the press conference when KD tore his Achilles, when you listen to the fight that Draymond and KD had, I know there was like those two guys kind of put the blame on Myers and Kerr for not like helping them make up, which was a whole weird blame game if you go back all the way to that whole thing. But I think that what I've always heard and seemed to gravitate toward about Bob Myers is that he's a people person, he's a communicator, and he has the type of like real leadership that you need. And that is, I think, a pretty damn good match in addition to just his resume for what we know the Suns are really desperate for.
Exactly. Leadership, right? The Suns have a lot of things good going for them in the front office. One being Matt Ishbia is willing to spend all the gobs of money he wants. The issue is they have no leadership and someone to say, maybe don't do it on Bradley Beal. You might be better off spreading that money off this way. The biggest thing, again, is the leadership for Bob Myers. Someone who is a basketball mind who can say, all right, guys, I've seen this before. I don't really need your input. And as well as someone that isn't going to need their handheld at least a little bit in the couple of months in their first time potentially being the president of basketball operations or being the general manager of this team. Because you and I both agreed if it wasn't one of those guys, it'd be Mr. Outside Hire and someone we hadn't heard of. So it's the leadership that this front office needs. And someone with the resume who can say to Ishbia, hey man, you're paying me $20+ million a year to run this show. I know you have your opinion, but that's just what it is. It's an opinion. It's the alpha male mentality to be like, stand down. I got this. And if you want to fire me, go for it. Write the $25 million check to fire me each and every year. And that's what I think the Suns team needed. Someone to stand up to Ishbia sometimes and say, no, you're wrong. Bartelstein, sit down. I'm running the ship. A clear vision and leader, because we don't know for the longest time who the hell has been running this organization. So Bob Myers, knowing that he's going to be the guy running it, makes everyone feel a little bit better.
I want to clarify. I always forget he got hired in 2011. So he was there for, 10+ years, and he rose quickly and then ultimately took it over a year after he got hired.
Yeah, man. And previous to that, the Warriors were a laughingstock in the NBA. They were not, they were a team that when I was young, seeing them on the schedule, being like, oh, someone's going to blow them out. Don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
Pre him, they were laughingstock. And now they were a prestigious organization.
100%. And that's exactly why I wanted to clarify, because he hired Steve Kerr. He drafted a lot of these guys. I always think of it as he kind of showed up at the same time as everything was just changing, but he was really the architect from those early years when really it was just Steph and, Monte Ellis and all that. So let's get into whether Myers would actually want the job, because you can want somebody to come work for you and offer them money all you want. They have to ultimately say yes and sign on the dotted line. Could that actually happen? Next. First, today's show brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? That's right. Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices with no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. In addition, with 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscription services, from Netflix, Prime Video, to Disney, Max, and more. Whether you love to game and compete, or you just love to sit back, relax, and enjoy your favorite shows, head to Amazon.com/FireTV to get started. The Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller are required for gaming. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd Gen, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and the Fire TV Cube 3rd Gen. That's Amazon.com/FireTV to get started. Let's keep it rolling here, Ben. I think we're on the same page that this is very good news, that the Suns are thinking this way and targeting somebody who we all know would be a home run hire. The question is very clearly, and I'll finish off the report from Mark Stein here, would Myers actually want to take this job? And so Mark Stein continued, you'd struggle to find many league observers who actually like their chances. Ishbia is said to have maintained a long-standing interest in trying to convince Myers to return to the role in which he presided over 4 Warriors championships. Can the Suns actually pull that off? There is far more skepticism than belief in the desert air at the moment. No one doubts Ishbia's considerable financial resources. The Suns' obstacles, though, are more than financial. Word is that Myers greatly enjoys his lucrative consulting role with the Washington Commanders, on top of his TV work with ESPN. Those jobs afford him much more family time than coming back to front officing would, plus a lot less stress. One factor that does work in the Suns' favor, he also talked about some of the obvious mess that Myers would have to clean up, which we can talk about ourselves. And Stein closed out the little chunk by saying, one factor that does work in their favor, Phoenix isn't far from Myers' home base in LA. We don't know everybody who will have an opening at GM. Ben, obviously, there's like the Hawks are already there, and there may be others. But I do think it's fair to question whether this is a job that somebody who really has his pick of anything he wants to do in the whole world of sports, it seems. Would he really want to choose this situation with how bleak it obviously is?
Well, I mean, let me ask you this. Does he like a challenge? I mean, does he want to cement himself as one of the best front office people of all time? You want to fix the Warriors, who were a poverty franchise before you showed up, or to the Warriors, or do you want to go to a franchise that is also, if someone is firing their general manager, it doesn't mean they don't have any problems. It means that something went haywire. What newsflash, the Warriors aren't firing their GM. Lakers aren't. OKC isn't. So those options aren't becoming available. So what's the difference then? Is it Memphis and the Suns? Or the Suns and the Hawks, the Kings? Like, the Suns aren't competing against Oklahoma City. And not only that, money is going to play a factor. So when Stein says something, says along those lines of like, we know Ishbia has the money to do so. Okay. So not only are the Suns an organization that I believe people still want to come to, you're going to outbid Ishbia. So if we're just talking about would he really want to come here, I get the obstacles, not a lot of draft capital, but you are going to have absolute autonomy over everything. And you could potentially save this franchise who still has Devin Booker, move on from KD, you get some picks, you make some things happen, and you will have the keys to this car. And if Memphis or Sacramento or Atlanta or one of those non-playoff teams that fire a GM who don't have any star players and have a buttload of picks, sure, go to that team.
Here's the thing, though.
I wouldn't just write us off.
I think what we need to think of this decision as on Myers' side is right now, based on the openings that are here, it's the Suns, who I agree would be at the top for me too, just of these teams, and not the best job in the league, but of the teams. And the Memphis has its GM still; they haven't actually fired him. They might.
I'm just naming names. I'm just naming teams that, just so we're clear, I'm just naming teams that
Atlanta
could.
and Sacramento, who you
and Sacramento has
already have fired. Oh yeah, Sacramento.
So I knew that too.
They replaced him. So yeah, okay. It's not the Suns versus even those teams so much. It's the Suns versus not taking a job in the league at all. That's what the decision is for Myers. Because that report I just read says, and he's probably getting paid pretty decently too. I mean, I don't know exactly how those advisory things work with the Commanders. Is it like is it a biweekly paycheck? Is it just, hey, you helped us with our search, so you get some money, and then you don't get any money? Who knows? He's a wealthy guy. He probably isn't super desperate for money. It's sticking with that role and other things that could come onto his plate, or finally jumping back into the league, in which case I do think right now the Suns are the top thing. And I got to say, I could easily make a case if I'm Bob Myers that if I just keep waiting, I'm only 50, I have a pretty hot, prominent role on ESPN where all the owners get to see me, I'm front and center, I'm still in the mix. I could wait maybe next summer. Somebody retires. Maybe next summer, some owner loses his mind, fires his GM when he shouldn't have, and they're desperate for some new face to come in and fix their oopsie, and I get to be that guy. Like, whatever. I don't know if I would be in an immediate hurry to say, let me jump on this Suns situation and be like the NBA Theo Epstein. Like, that's kind of what you were laying out, right? Like, do it with the Red Sox and the Cubs, do it with the Warriors and the Suns. Like, the Warriors already had a title, but barely. It had been 50 years or so. Suns have never won one. That'd be pretty nice to have that double accomplishment, but it's a long way between now and a championship for the Suns.
Sure. And let me throw this out there too. I really like this good cop, bad cop thing we're doing with Bob Myers. If Bob Myers decides he'd rather not have a job in the NBA because he's waiting for first off, there is no such thing as the right job for a team. Sure. Maybe the Sam Presti just decides to step down from the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't see that happening. I also don't see him going to Oklahoma in lieu of leaving Los Angeles with all the money he has.
Sure.
But if he doesn't want a position with a prestigious organization like the Suns are, I mean, I believe they are. I think the Suns are a good organization in terms of who would want to come here. Maybe not in terms of winning, outside of they've had winning seasons before, just haven't won a championship. I don't want you here then. Like, if you don't want this job, if you don't want the challenge, if you'd rather sit behind the desk because you don't want to be challenged, because you want to wait for something a little bit more easier, then I don't want you here. I want someone here who is going to be paid considerably to want to come and fix this mess, who we all know, like I said this last year with Bud, but let's just, like, they're going to pay Bob Myers $25 million a year if he comes here. He is not getting fired. Like, I can comfortably say after 1 year, he's not getting fired. You're going to have all control. Everyone is going to believe in you. So if you don't want that, then stay behind the desk. Like, if that, like, I'm not going to make you come here just for money's sake. I've mentioned this before. Don't do something just for money. Do it because you also want the challenge and the, pomp and throw that potentially comes with it. But I don't see him, like, Rob Pelinka's not leaving the Lakers anytime soon. I couldn't tell you who's running the Clippers right now, but they're having a pretty good stuff going on right now. Frank is whatever you'd said. Lawrence Frank, I believe it was. I don't want you if you don't want this job. That's where I kind of stand on it. And if sitting behind the desk is better than that, then sit behind the desk, and that's totally fine. We'll find someone who wants to fix this mess.
And by the way, rebuilding one of the most abysmal NFL franchises into a playoff team. So he's not hanging out on a TV set. He's kind of in the weeds.
He's in an advisory role. He's not Adam Peters. Like,
I just like making you be the guy who has to be the Myers hater in this conversation, because I know you actually like him. And then when he gets hired in 2 weeks, I'll be like, well, Ben, you said he'd rather be, all he was doing TV. So why do you like him so much?
Bob Myers. I kept on saying it was so, I wouldn't even consider Bob Myers coming here because I would just, I don't know. I started to have a little bit of doubts of if the Suns would go after him, if he would want to come here or whatever. And now that it's happening, I'm like, temper your expectations because they just don't want to get let down again.
And I hear what you're saying. Like, you don't want money to be the only reason that he comes and takes this job. But I just don't think, I don't even think he'll entertain it unless he wants it, right? Like, if 100%. It was just about diving back into some big payday, like he probably would already have done something. He would have. I imagine, like, I heard Brian Windhorst on Bill Simmons' podcast last week. Bob Myers came up because Wendy was saying how cool it is to get to pick his brain during all these NBA, ESPN broadcasts. And he said, I wouldn't be surprised if Bob gets a call every week with somebody in sports offering him some kind of work because of his track record. And so the Suns get to be one of those people, but I don't think he's picking up the phone unless he sees an opportunity here. And I think the opportunity would be, yeah, it's ugly right now, but you get to start from scratch for all intents and purposes. Like, you're a little behind because you don't have your own draft picks and everything else, but you get to be the one to decide on what to do with KD, how to handle the Beal situation, what the next coach should be, what types of young players and identity do you target to rebuild and reset around Devin Booker. Like, that is also an opportunity, even if it is a big, I mean, it's a tough spot to be in, right? But also, you want to talk about if he should be the pick? I mean, we're kind of already leaning there, but what it should look like and everything else?
No, of course. All I just want to say is just like, you mentioned the Commanders and like what he's doing there, but like, that's a challenge. There was no organization more dysfunctional coming off the Snyder situation than the Commanders, and he took that advisory role. Heck, leave that advisory role. We'll just pay you for this advisory role. Anyways, let's talk about it.
All right. What we want to see this turn into? What are we looking for next? First, today's show is brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Gametime, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Okay, Gametime is great for all that stuff, yes, but they're kind of bullying us by throwing around NBA playoff teases while we sit here in Phoenix wishing we could have NBA playoff basketball. So if you don't live somewhere where that's going on, comedy, concerts, theater, whatever you love, Gametime has that as well. I know in the Valley coming up, we obviously got D-backs baseball. We got WWE Raw, I think, on like June 9th or something like that is coming. And of course, concerts galore. It's Phoenix. What are you talking about? So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Deals closer to the start of the event, last-minute deals, all-in pricing, everything that you could want in an app. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Closing out the show. Obviously, Ben, I think we are both very high on this possibility. Is there anything holding you back from it? Is there anything you can look out on the horizon and say, I love this, but, or I like Myers, but I think I might like this a little more, or Myers sounds perfect, but there has to be a hitch. Like, tell me, be the zag on this, because all Suns fans are going to hear this and love it, but we can't just make it 100% a good idea the very first day we hear about it.
Yeah. You're asking me to be the bad guy, and with all
I'll do it too after you go.
No, with all pleasure, I'll do it. The biggest thing that I will continue to harp on, and people will say this, is just give him whatever money he wants. I don't want you here if you're just here for the money. If the money is strictly like, I don't care. It's not my money. Give him $100 million a year. I don't care. But let's say it's something absurd, $30 million a year. There will be in the back of my mind, are you just taking this job for money? Or are you taking this job because you want the challenge and the potential of being one of the best front office people of all time, if not the best front office person of all time, and that being Bob Myers? On the condition of, do I, like, if let's just say the feelings is mutual, but he wants to be well compensated, totally fine. Is there anyone else? The Suns, if they could get Bob Myers and they feel like that there is, like, it could happen, they shouldn't even be interviewing anyone else. Like, that is the number one guy that everyone wants. Go for it.
We mentioned Griffin, and I made a case on him that I think is reasonable. If it ends up being him, I mean, we don't even know. There's been no real connection outside of the fact that he worked here for like 20 years. I think that could work. The connection with James Jones, the history here. He obviously has a track record in multiple locations of building championship contenders, building promising young cores, kind of doing it at all different points on a franchise's trajectory. That would be fine. I looked back at some articles that, there's stuff written this time of year each season that's like the candidates. If another team does a hiring search, then we hear about that and everything. I tried to look back. You look at OKC, like what the best teams are. Rob Hennigan's there. He ran the Magic back when like Frank Vogel was there, helped build like the Aaron Gordon, Jonathan Isaac core. He's been with the Thunder, kind of biding his time. Interesting. Okay. Mike Zarin in Boston. That's like an analytics guy. You probably heard his name if you've ever heard people talk about the draft reform, one like the wheel of how they could do the lottery. That's him. He's a big hotshot guy. There's other names, Trent Redden with the Clippers, Brock Aller with the Knicks, like that I saw pop up that all seemed decently promising. But the reason that I can't dissuade myself from Myers too much, really, aside from all the stuff you could say that makes him a good candidate, and like, yes, he's far and away the best in terms of his resume, given what he did in Golden State, but you could paint a pretty good resume for Griffin or any of these other guys too. What I like about Myers, above and beyond all of that, is he's only 50, and he left on his own terms. Usually with a guy like Bob Myers, you're looking at it, and there's a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth because most likely he got fired in his last job. He did something to fail. He did something to upset the owner or ruin an aspect of what he was supposed to be doing, building the team up. Myers didn't do any of that. And obviously there's the qualms and the quibbles, like we said, with Wiseman or whatever, but he chose to leave. If he wanted to still be running the Warriors, he would be running the Warriors, and they're back in the playoffs. They have been multiple years since he left, so you're basically just stealing a guy who was running one of the best organizations in basketball simply because you happen to be in the right place at the right time, hiring someone when he chose to take a hiatus. That just doesn't come along very often, so it's hard for me to say that you don't just seize on that as soon as you possibly can.
I like Griffin. I like these Tim Connolly type of guys that have been shown that they can build up championship teams, like a Griffin, like a Connolly, like a Myers. Now that this is out, Brendon, if the Suns don't get him, it doesn't matter who they get. They are setting themselves up for disaster People are going to be
when we
upset.
do a reaction to whoever they hire, if it's not him, we will say his name in the first 5 minutes.
100%. I will immediately say, whoever it is, be like, let's say it's someone that we had talked about before, we liked, whatever, someone that, bright future. We'd be like, yeah, it's good. Happy they made the responsible decision, but it's not Bob Myers. And it feels like then you're going to be able to make the talk of like, well, did Ishbia finally go cheap? Did he finally say, I don't know, man, the bill came due $30 million a year, $25 million a year. We didn't want to do that. So the Suns
last
are setting
segment of
themselves
our
up for
show, when we do a reaction, if it's not him, it will be like, why wasn't it Bob Myers? Is this person better than Bob Myers? Whatever. Like, you're right.
Did Ishbia want to give up control?
The expectation setting. Yeah.
Did Ishbia want to give up control? Did he feel like he needed to be the big man in the room? We're going to be talking about all of that. So double-edged sword here.
Or what does it tell us about how dire it is with the Suns if Myers didn't want to take, you know what I mean? Like something, it's just a lot of that if it doesn't work. So,
we will spend 33% at minimum on the reaction show on Bob Myers. So really great that you are getting remember how we said the Suns might bring in Steve Nash or Jared Dudley for interviews for whatever, head coach, president of basketball operations, because they just want good PR. But it wouldn't matter if they didn't get them. It just feel good. If they don't get Bob Myers, like this right now is good PR because now you and I are like, oh my God, I think Ishbia's getting it. I think he realizes just supply the money, be Steve Ballmer, and get the guys in place. But 33% of our show, if they don't get him, will be, damn, that sucks that they didn't get Bob Myers. And it feels like a colossal failure. And that biggest thing you said right there, man, is like, damn, how dire is this Suns situation? Finally.
Or it'll be 100% of the show if they do hire him. And let's just hope that that's where the
we'll do
goes.
We'll do a 24-hour stream special where we just stare in amazement at a Bob Myers press conference for 24 hours straight. Hey, we did this with Jimmy Butler. We did this with Bud. Where were you at pre this news that Bob Myers would be the GM of the Suns, and where are you at now, percentage-wise?
I was at probably 20-25 before, just kind of like he might be one of the guys, but maybe that's too far-fetched. Now that it's out there, I mean, at least has to multiply by 2, right? Like, maybe I just say 50-50 now, him or the field.
Damn, that's pretty good odds. It's just like if you'd have told me before this, like, we think Bob Myers is 50-50, I'd have been like, wow. I was probably 10%. I never really thought his name would kind of get floated. I thought we'd be doing shows of like, why aren't the Suns at least talking to Myers? Like, this is pissing me off.
And to be clear, like, since we haven't said it, like, there's no indication they have yet.
There's no
this
interview
is interest,
this happened,
right? This is through the grapevine in the NBA, people are hearing that Ishbia really likes Myers and he's kind of the ideal guy. But like, this could be over tomorrow. I mean, you never know.
I'm gonna say 50-50 as well. And when you say it could be over tomorrow, remember when the Pelicans hired their GM? They fired the other guy and brought in the next guy like 10 seconds later. The Kings did the same thing with their GM,
and it could be worse.
President of basketball operations,
right? Because Joe Dumars, we'd be melting down. I think he like, and I think that's what Ishbia. He's living up to his word that he would play this slow, and Jones said it too, right? That they've rushed into a lot of decisions with the coach was really what Jones was talking about. But if it ends up getting you Myers, great. If it doesn't, and you still just give yourself time to survey the landscape, cool. But I think that those rush decisions often end up backfiring with like a guy like Dumars, because what evidence do you have those are the best candidates if you don't talk to anybody else? Whereas Myers, well, you probably don't have to look too much further.
If the Suns hire Bob Myers, I'm not being serious because I feel like people will hold me to this. I'll get the same sideburns. I'll just grow them all the way out.
Oh, I like it.
Down to here. Just to agree with you really quickly, I think it's 50-50 as well. I was at 10%, 15% before. 50-50, I think it happens. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be very, very upset because you can't.
And if it does, you're growing out the sideburns.
I'm growing out the sideburns.
That'll wrap us up. Hit follow.
As long as the wife is okay with it.
or subscribe if you have not already. We're done for the week, unless something crazy happens and we have another 30 minutes to do because Bob Myers becomes the leader of this whole dang thing. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend. We'll catch you on Monday.